Have you ever wondered where the water that Pokemon use for their attacks come from? Yeah, I hadn't either until this guy shared his terrible shower thought with me, much to the disgust of poor old Dratini there. Now, I know that you've probably already seen this specific exchange, or many of the others that are being rightfully memed throughout the internet, but still, I don't think people realize quite how much the random flavor dialogue in this game tells us. There really is a lot of depth to it, and a lot that we can extract from it. The fact is, Lumiose City speaks, and in this video I hope to show you how to listen to it. Or, you know, at least gush about how much I learned simply from talking to people who were equal parts uplifting, depressing, and most interestingly, utterly unhinged. Thanks to the latter adjective, now my headcanon is that Pokemon use Sweat, Piss, or Mucus to use water-type moves, and I really didn't expect my view on so many Pokemon to change forever when I started playing Pokémon Legends Z-A. In fact, when I started playing the game, I expected many things. None of them included the fact that I would find talking to people the most interesting part of the game. I also didn't expect to be told that I'm likely to be aging like bad cheese, but hey, here we are. And newsflash for all of you, this guy said that most people age like bad cheese, so, you know, chances are you're in the group with me. And don't worry about spoilers, my fellow rotten cheese, this is a spoiler-free video. Well, unless you consider random citizen speeches to be spoilers, I guess. Anyway, are you starting to see what I mean by unhinged? It's not just what they are thinking. I mean, we all think about sweat, piss, and mucus every once in a while, right? Guys? Anyone? Well, the thing is, we don't go around voicing these thoughts to random people who talk to us on the street, potentially forever staining their view of something they had no issues with before. Or, you know, at least I hope we don't go around doing that. And yes, this is a subtle request to please not ruin my innocence further by sharing more unhinged sour thoughts in the comments. If you're still not convinced that this game's dialogue is golden, I never said I considered Unhinged to be a bad thing after all, picture this. You're walking down the streets and you see a guy leaning against a wonderfully flat wall. He's just there looking at people as they walk past. You think nothing of it, this is a big city after all. You keep walking, slowly approaching the guy that you would otherwise never register. Someone you would never forget about because you would never even perceive their existence to begin with, and thus you would have nothing to forget. I mean, why would you perceive the guy? You're used to walking past thousands of people every day. Faces blend together and you automatically phase people out. Little did you know, however, that this time would be different, for as you walk past the man, he uttered words that should never be shared with a stranger, or with anyone for that matter. He says, and I quote, "I am sick and tired of this life. I just want to smell Pokemon." You stop in your tracks. Your trance was broken. This was no longer just another person in a sea of unknowns. Oh no. This was someone that invaded your sanity and inner peace by sharing his thoughts against your will. You look at the guy. He is unapologetic. In fact, he is just repeating the same sentence over and over. Disturbed, you continue on your way, likely never to see the guy again. But his words linger in your mind. I mean, how could they not? Over the next few days, that lingering thought turns into curiosity, and before you know it, you are sniffing Trubbishes in a back alley. See what I mean? Unhinged. And honestly, even if what people say isn't outlandish, it can still be funny or interesting. I really did learn a lot about Lumiose from its citizens. For example, have you wondered why you couldn't use roller skates anymore when they were such a huge part of X and Y? If you guessed that it was Game Freak cutting corners or trying to make the city feel bigger than it actually is by limiting our travel speed, you are probably right, but that's no fun. The fun answer is actually given by this one random NPC, who claims that in a city full of wild Pokemon, people are afraid to use roller skates because they don't want to hit a Pokemon and go flying. And, you know, I guess that's a valid concern, even though now that I think about it, people are still using cars, so I don't know. And that's actually one of the things that really stuck out to me in the dialogue. Game Freak actually did a good job reflecting how nuanced of a topic it is to have a city where Pokemon and people live together. Or, I mean, wild Pokemon. Like, the NPCs really covered all the bases. There are the more general stances of this is bad and this is good. Like, for example, this lady that goes, Pokemon are terrifying creatures. I can't imagine she's very happy having to live with wild Pokemon. This kid, on the other hand, believes that more Pokemon means everyone's happy. Personally, I agree, but I don't think this guy who has to clean up Pokemon poop is very psyched about getting more wild Pokemon in the city. But as this other dude says, living produces waste and someone's gotta clean it, right? The game goes well beyond the general Pokemon good or Pokemon bad stances. It gets right down to issues and discourses that might seem a bit too familiar to some of you. One of those is job safety. Yeah, you heard me right. And no, I'm not talking about safety in terms of being safe while you work, though there is a bit of that too. I'm talking about people who are worried about being fired. This person, for example, ponders what will happen to humans if Pokemon join the workforce, worried about wild creatures coming in and taking their jobs. And from what it looks like, this is a concern that others share, such as this guard who is very disgruntled, saying that he won't let himself be outshone by the Den that were hired as Quasarticle security. But, as they say, to every yin there is a yang, or, you know, something like that. And as such, while some people are worried, others are psyched about the chance of working with Pokemon. Like this dude, for example, who is convinced that having more Pokemon in the city will create more jobs for people. And from what we've seen with that one guy who has to clean their shit, yeah, I guess that's true. And while that one guard is not happy with his co-workers, this lady would jump at the chance to work with a clever Pokemon that could do her job for her. Even that, however, might be problematic because, as this one person points out, if Pokemon do your work for you, they might just get your salary for you as well. Though I'm a bit uncertain about the logistics of this. Like, would they pay taxes? What would a Pokemon spend money on? Treats maybe? Berries? The creation of an evil team so that they can overthrow humanity? Who knows? And if you're still wondering about what I meant when I said there's also a bit of concern regarding physical safety at work, wonder no more, because there are at least 2 couriers in the game who will answer your questions. Yeah, apparently Pokemon stealing people's packages is a common occurrence in Lumiose. I can only imagine people checking their Amazon packages tracking codes and the status saying, could not deliver, courier mugged by a pack of pet rats. You would think that would make people order less stuff online, but what's stopping the pet rats from mugging people on their way out of the supermarket? I guess you could say the hollow barriers around the wild areas stop them, but those seem like more of a suggestion than anything. I mean, pet rats are still everywhere in the city. And while I'm joking here, the truth is the situations I described are not entirely inaccurate. One of the wildest things I came across in the game was this guy just casually saying that whenever he finds people laid out by wild Pokemon, he hauls them over to the nearest Pokemon Center. That's right, not only do people get knocked out by wild Pokemon, it's also a common enough occurrence that this guy just casually talks about it like it's no big deal. It kinda makes me wonder if the Pokemon Center nurses already know some of the victims by name, like, hey, good morning, Jerry. Yeah, that scatterbug gave you a concussion for the 3rd time this month, but I fixed you right up. Hope to see you again. I'm sorry, that's just absurd. I guess by now you've realized that the physical safety of the populace is a concern for a lot of people. There's folks concerned about the city getting overrun with Pokemon if the hollow areas fail, folks judging others for thinking more wild Pokemon is a good thing, calling Pokemon uncivilized, and even claiming that they could destroy the whole city. Which, you know, to be fair, they could. And if you think this issue is limited to wild Pokemon and thus not a problem with Pokemon you've caught, think again. This poor guy gets bitten by his Pokemon every time he loses a battle, which is simply hilarious. A lot of other people, however, have no such safety concerns, claiming that it is good to live with Pokemon and that this whole Pokemon and humans coexisting thing will make Lumiose City very unique. And honestly, I'm in this latter camp. That seems like a great city to settle in. Whichever the case, one thing is impossible to deny. Living with Pokemon is bound to shake things up. This one NPC, this glorious voice of reason, puts it best when they said that so many strange things happen living around Pokemon that meeting a guy over 9 feet tall starts to feel like nothing special. And yeah, it's always been a bit weird that nobody bats an eye to AZ, the giant walking amongst them, but I guess when you're used to being laid out by wild Pokemon, you're just glad the giant isn't stepping on you. Poor Jerry. The very redevelopment plan is also a point of contention for some people. The argument in favor is the same as I already presented, people being excited to live with wild Pokemon. But there are way more arguments against it that I feel are worth exploring here. There is sadness over the cityscape changing and scaffolding all over the place. There's people lamenting the fact that each wild zone that pops up means more detours that they have to take, and there's even one person commenting that it feels like they're all living in a safari zone lately, as if that's a bad thing. By this point you might be like, well, why don't they complain to Kozartico? Turns out, some people do. Or, you know, at least they claim to, but that their complaints go nowhere. And then other people distrust the entire company simply because, well, Lumiose's redevelopment shouldn't be trusted to a foreign company? Alright kid, calm down. But perhaps my favorite is this guy who wishes the redevelopment plan included their house. Like, yeah, I can deal with wild zones, I can deal with getting attacked while on jogs, I can deal with everything, so long as you remodel my house for free. And yeah, that's a cause I can get behind. Another topic that people constantly seem to talk about in Lumiose City is work. There is some positivity regarding jobs, like some of the couriers we find that are positive about their work, and this guy who claims to work not only for the money but also because he loves his job. Commendable, really, absolutely cannot relate. However, I could find a lot more comments that are, well, not as positive. People counting the days for the next day off, people disillusioned with their current work, people climbing all the way up to rooftops to escape their work and still failing to do so, and even people having existential crises, like this courier who asks if they are even still a courier if they are not out delivering stuff. While comments like these may seem grim, I actually quite like them, simply because they made a lot of these NPCs feel a bit more believable. It's rare, after all, for people to actually enjoy what they do for a living. Or, you know, at least that seems to be the case anyway. I do have to wonder though, if Pokemon's target audience really is children, what do they think of these comments? Is Pokemon creating a generation of kids that will grow up knowing their adult life will be spent doing something so crushing? Will we get a surge of kids asking their parents what the hell a bottom line is and why it helps a company's woes go away? The answer to these last couple of questions is probably not, but, you know, the thought is amusing to me anyway. While Legends Z-A very accurately portrayed the existential dread of lots of salaried workers, there's also something else I feel the game portrayed really well: humanity's obsession with cute things. Specifically, how we would worship the very ground our pet Pokemon overlords walked on, as already happens with cats, dogs, and other pets. We see people gushing over their Pokemon's adorable goopiness, people saying that all they want to do is get their mons out of their balls to pet them, and even a person saying that their Pokemon gets their nice and soft bed while they get the hard sofa, which is, well, very relatable. A bit of a personal anecdote here, but I used to host dogs while owners traveled, and sometimes they would be very scared as they were left by their owners in a completely new environment. And as such, I would do everything to try to calm them down and make them feel at home. including sleeping on the hard couch, which was bigger than my bed, just so they could have company at night. But I get it, this isn't relatable to everyone, as a lot of people do not allow pets on beds or couches. However, I'm betting everyone can relate to this guy who says that it's impossible not to say that's a big stretch when he sees a large Pokemon stretching. Except most of us probably go with the tried and true, oh, big stretch. Don't you even try to claim you don't. But yeah, there are way more examples of people's adoration of Pokemon, like this person asking if it's safe to try petting poison-type Pokemon, kinda like some people who strongly consider losing their hands if it means getting to pet a bear, or this person who claims that their Pokemon is greedy because it just wants to eat, eat, and eat. Okay, well, this last one may not be an example of adoration, but I just wanted to fit it in somewhere because I relate on a personal level to that Pokemon. Eating is life. Sometimes people do go a bit too far in their adoration, with this one lamenting that yet another day has passed without them being reincarnated as a Pokemon, and this one claiming that they must have been a Pokemon in the past life. At least this one had a voice of reason right next to them, wondering how the hell they were supposed to reply to someone claiming they might have been a Pokemon. Maybe we finally found the reincarnation of the mystery dungeon protagonists, who knows. Hell, there's even people who worry about what will happen to their Pokemon if the trainer was to suddenly pass away. It is a sobering thought, but a valid and relatable one all the same. And in fact, sobering thoughts abound in this game. If there's one thing that became abundantly clear to me as I talked my way through Lumiose, it's that the city is facing a mental health crisis. Which I guess makes sense considering not even 5 years ago a lunatic attempted to destroy the region, Pokemon are now randomly mega evolving and wreaking havoc, and people are being laid out or having their parcels stolen by wild Pokemon. My favorite depressive comment came from this guy who was like, well, I'm an ordinary guy by day and still ordinary by night. That hit closer to home than I wanted. It just didn't hit even closer because I've been falling asleep by 9 PM these days and skipping most of the night, thus not really having time to perceive my nighttime ordinariness. Though I guess that does show my age, alongside me instantly seeing myself in this person's shoes when they said that they tried to throw a Pokeball and hurt their shoulder. I swear dude, since I turned 30 a few months ago, things just randomly start hurting, so I can definitely picture myself going down that same path. Like, I'm about to challenge a gym, throw my Pokeball and dislocate my shoulder, instantly losing the match but gaining a ride to the nearest hospital. Do you see what I mean when I say the Lumiose citizens are very interesting? You get the raw reality of the Pokemon world, things that you probably didn't think about. And you also get the raw reality of the human mind. There is this person who laments that it's just another day of them humming one of their unfinished songs. This one says that they travel a lot but nowhere feels like home, a struggle I'm sure some of us can relate to. This other person perfectly encapsulates the city living experience by saying that you're surrounded by people but still feel alone. And you even have one random casually reminding us that we can do the right thing and still get fucked because, well, life is unfair. Thanks everyone, I needed to be reminded of my existential dread when playing my kid game. But while there are lots of depressing comments, there are also a lot of uplifting ones, which was really nice to see. Heck, there were actually some genuinely good life advice being given out, like, for example, that you won't know if you have aptitude for something if you don't try it, that to understand yourself you must talk to other people, and even that if you mess up, you might want to send your partner a bouquet. Well, I actually don't know if that last one works. I'm currently planning to prank my girlfriend to see if she gets mad, so I can test out this theory. I'll let you guys know how that goes. Heck, this game even taught me not to mind the wrinkles around my eyes as they are proof that I spent a lifetime laughing. I have no idea if that's actually true, but I'm choosing to believe it is as Game Freak would never lie to us, right? Well, I talked a lot about what other people have talked about, so let's recap what Lumiose and its citizens have told us so far. We've learned that people are happy with their jobs, people are unhappy with their jobs, people are depressed, people are happy, People dislike living with wild Pokemon. People love living with wild Pokemon. People hate the redevelopment plan. People love the redevelopment plan. Now, if we use that one math principle that has us cutting from the equation elements that are opposites of each other, we get nothing. Yeah, nothing is left, and we're forcing to reach the conclusion that this video was a colossal waste of time. But hey, at least it was a fun waste of time, right? Jokes aside though, the truth is that this list is kinda the point I was trying to make with this video. This city speaks, and its voice is a cacophony of contradicting ideas. And that's actually very accurate to city living, at least in my experience. There are so many different viewpoints that clash, and it's often magical to see it happening, especially because often when there's understanding and mutual respect, that cacophony turns into a nice melody, and everyone's inner world is made all the better for it. If you're cringing at your screen right now from what I said, you're welcome. This was all just a long-winded way to say that I actually think that Game Freak crafted a really nice city, at least in terms of its citizens. And sad citizens really do a better job than anything else at showing the issues the city is dealing with. Change, in this case the redevelopment plan, is a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people, and it's fascinating to see that reflected in the citizens. It is great to see them actually having relatable concerns for once. And yeah, it is hilarious to see the many unhinged comments that are being memed throughout the internet. I brought you some of those, but there are really a lot more to find in the game. So please, by all means, if you haven't been paying attention to what people have to say in the game, give it a try, especially if you care about lore or being immersed in the world. Spend some minutes walking around, talking to people. I mentioned quite a few things in this video, but trust me, there are way more iconic lines for you to find in Lumiose. I will, however, just quickly talk about two more actually unhinged and/or hilarious lines that I just couldn't fit anywhere else in the video. First off, have you ever wondered about hygiene in the Pokemon world? No? Well, I hadn't either until this random guy said that people only get showers in Kalos. You heard it right, no other region has showers, just Kalos. This is a whole can of worms that I can't even begin to open. Does everyone smell? Do they bathe in lakes? What other basic life equipment is missing from other regions? Questions like these still swirl in my mind, likely to go unanswered until I find some other mystery to focus on. Realistically though, I think this guy meant meteor showers or something, because he also says that the showers pass before you know it, and I simply cannot picture a scenario in which a shower you use to clean yourself with just passes on. But then again, we know Hoenn has meteor showers, so this can't be what he means. Or maybe this guy's just crazy. Or maybe English being my second language is showing here, and this has an obvious meaning that I am not privy to. Regardless, his sentence made me do a double take and got a good giggle out of me. Hopefully it gets one out of you too. And the other thing I wanted to show off is that people can actually get stuck in battle zones. I came across this poor sod who is just roaming around the shopping district when the battle zone activated and created hollow walls around the exits, locking the dude in. Imagine you're just having a good time hanging around in a shopping center, and next thing you know you're stuck and have to stay there for the next 12 hours. It's kinda crazy that this can even happen. Like, it's a health and safety hazard, isn't it? What happens if there's a fire in there? Is the dude just screwed? Regardless, once again, this is funny as shit. Anyway, I think I've rambled for way too long about this. If you've made it this far, let me know what you think of the video, the quotes I brought, and let me know if you found any other funny quotes that I didn't talk about in this video. Reading comments is always the best part of making videos, so I would love to see what you have to say. And if you want more Pokemon content, rejoice! There is a whole playlist of Pokemon videos kinda like this one that I've made over the years. I'll leave it down in the description below. My most popular one is actually about the wasted potential of Pokemon X and Y, so being able to see the story continued has been a joy. And this will definitely be a video topic in the future. But yeah, I've been off content creation for like 10 months now, and this was a very fun video to work on. I am definitely buzzing with more ideas, so should life allow me to, there will hopefully be more stuff coming your way. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you hopefully in the next video. Bye bye!